Every morning you have a decision to make. Will you wake up and drift into another day of distraction, or will you rise with intention, power, and purpose? Most people wake up reacting to their phone, to the world, to the noise. But champions, leaders, game changers, they prime themselves. They command their mind before the world tries to. Because the first words you speak each morning, they shape your focus, they trigger your emotions, they direct your destiny. Your language is not just communication, it's creation. And when you speak with emotion, with energy, with belief, you don't just feel different, you become different. That's what this is about. 11 phrases, not just words, weapons, tools, anchors, rituals. Say them every morning, not as a routine, but as a declaration. Say them until your mind believes it, until your body feels it, until your life reflects it. This isn't positive thinking. This is psychological conditioning, identity transformation. This is how you shift from wishing to owning, from hoping to becoming. Say these 11 phrases every morning and watch your life change from the inside out. Your words shape your identity. Most people don't understand the magnitude of that truth. They speak without awareness, without intention, and then they wonder why their life feels out of alignment, why they're stuck in the same cycles, why success keeps slipping through their fingers. The language you use every day is not just describing your life, it's defining it. It's constructing the boundaries of who you believe you are and what you believe is possible for you. Every phrase you repeat becomes a thread in the fabric of your identity. And eventually that identity becomes the ceiling you can't break through, or the rocket that launches you into a new level of existence. When you wake up in the morning and the first thing you say is, I'm tired, I'm not ready, or this day is going to be hard, you're not just making observations, you're casting spells. You're wiring your brain and your nervous system to experience fatigue, resistance, and stress. You're teaching your mind what to focus on, and where focus goes, energy flows. Now imagine the shift if you woke up and instead said, I am powerful, I am focused, I am ready for anything today brings. These are not just motivational affirmations. They are declarations of identity. They are commands to your brain. They are signals to your nervous system that it's time to rise, to show up, to perform. And when repeated with emotional intensity and certainty, they don't just lift your mood, they rewrite your mental script. You've got to understand something. Identity is not fixed. It's not who you are. It's who you've been conditioned to believe you are. And that conditioning has come from years of repeated language, repeated emotions, repeated stories. I'm just not good with people. I've never been confident. I always mess things up. Every time you say something like that, you reinforce a part of your personality that limits your potential. You give power to a false version of yourself. And eventually, that false self runs your entire life. The moment you become conscious of your words, the moment you interrupt the old pattern and replace it with intentional language, you start to reclaim your power. You stop living by default and you start living by design. When you say something out loud, especially with emotional force, you're not just expressing something, you're imprinting it. The brain responds to repetition and emotion. It learns through what you feel and what you focus on. So if you want to reshape your beliefs, if you want to become someone who is unstoppable, unshakable, and confident in every area of life, you start by changing the language that defines who you are, and you do it daily. Because repetition is the mother of skill. Consistency is what forges identity. This is why these 11 phrases matter. Because they aren't random words. They're carefully crafted to install the beliefs that serve your highest self. They're built to align your internal dialogue with the outcomes you desire. They are tools of transformation, but they only work when you engage with them fully, with energy, with movement, with purpose. If you mumble them, if you say them without heart, they don't penetrate. They don't land. But if you speak them like your life depends on it, because in a very real way, it does, then you're programming yourself to win. You're building a new foundation from which every decision, every action, and every result will flow. Most people are passive about their self-talk. They think the mind just talks and they have to listen. But you can direct the conversation. You can override the negativity, the doubt, the fear, not by arguing with it, but by overwhelming it with conviction. Language is power when it comes from a place of certainty. The moment you realize that your words can shift your identity, you begin to use them intentionally, deliberately, relentlessly. You begin to plant the seeds of greatness every single day. And the more you do it, the more natural it becomes. This is the shift from accidental language to intentional language, from describing your past to designing your future, from being a passive listener of old patterns to being an active creator of new ones. When you say, I am confident, even if you don't fully believe it yet, you are taking the first step toward becoming it. When you say, I attract abundance, even when your bank account says otherwise, you are choosing the identity of someone who no longer tolerates scarcity. When you say, I am unstoppable, you're not pretending, you're training, you're developing a psychological edge, because repetition of powerful language creates new neural pathways. It changes your biochemistry. It shifts your posture, your tone, your energy. It rewires you from the inside out. You don't get the identity you want just by wishing for it. You get it by speaking it, living it, breathing it, conditioning it every single morning. You speak the identity until it becomes your reality. That's what this practice is about. It's not just motivational noise. It's a ritual of reinforcement, a daily declaration of who you are and who you're becoming. And once you commit to it, once you make it a non-negotiable part of your morning, you'll start noticing something powerful. Your beliefs begin to shift, your behaviors start to follow, and your results begin to rise. Not because the world changed, but because you did. And it all started with the words you chose to say the moment you woke up. It's not just about the words, it's about how you say them. Emotion plus repetition equals lasting change. That's the formula. That's the secret most people miss. You can read a list of empowering phrases, you can even memorize them. But if you say them with a flat tone, if you speak them without intensity, without belief, without engagement, they will not penetrate. They won't make a dent in your nervous system. But the moment you combine those words with raw emotion, when you put your body into it, your voice, your energy, everything begins to change. That's when transformation happens, because your nervous system doesn't respond to words alone. It responds to feeling. It responds to energy. And when you say something with passion, with conviction, you're not just repeating, you're conditioning. Conditioning is everything. You're conditioning your nervous system every single day, whether you know it or not. The question is, are you conditioning it on purpose, or are you letting your emotions, your doubts, your environment condition it for you? If you wake up and say, I'm tired, over and over again, with a tone of defeat, your body listens, it starts to feel heavy, your brain slows down, your physiology matches the words. But when you wake up and say, I feel strong today, I am powerful, I am focused, I am unstoppable, and you say it with intensity, you breathe it, you move your body as you speak it, you feel alive, you feel driven, you feel ready. That's not magic. That's science. Your physiology is directly linked to your language. The words you speak shape your focus, but the way you speak them determines how deeply they're imprinted into your nervous system. That's why people can repeat affirmations for years and still feel stuck, because they're saying them without feeling. They're going through the motions. They say it like it's a chore. But when you add emotion, when you repeat with energy, with certainty, with fire in your voice, you create a new emotional experience. And emotion is what makes it real. Think about it. How do we form beliefs? Through experiences that had a strong emotional charge. The moments in life that shaped you the most weren't necessarily the most logical. They were the most emotional. The time someone criticized you in front of others. The moment you failed and felt humiliated. The moment someone you trusted let you down. Those moments stuck because they were filled with emotion. They weren't just thoughts. They were feelings. That's what made them powerful. And the same rule applies in reverse. If you want to create a new belief, if you want to embed a new identity, you have to charge it with emotion. You have to fire it into your system over and over again until it becomes automatic. So when you speak these 11 phrases every morning, don't just read them. Don't say them like you're reading a grocery list. Say them like your life depends on it. Say them while standing tall with your shoulders back, your chest up, your breath deep. Move your body as you speak. Raise your voice. Look in the mirror. Look into your own eyes and declare the truth of who you're becoming. Because when your body aligns with your language, when your movement supports your message, the belief begins to hardwire. You begin to feel it. You begin to own it. And once you feel it, you don't need to try anymore. It becomes you. This is how you reprogram your subconscious, not with silent hope, but with massive repetition and elevated emotion. That's the same way limiting beliefs were installed in the first place. Repeated messages charged with fear or pain, but now you get to reverse it. You get to install empowering beliefs using the same mechanism: repetition, emotion, certainty, over and over, until there's no room left for the old story. There's a difference between saying, I am confident once a week and saying it every single morning with emotional fire. There's a difference between reading a phrase and owning it in your soul. That difference is what separates people who talk about change from those who actually live it. If you want to create a life on your terms, you've got to condition yourself for it. You've got to wire your nervous system to feel it before it shows up. You don't wait for results to believe. You believe until the results can't help but follow, and you build that belief every morning through emotional, repeated physical declaration. This is your training. This is your ritual, and rituals build character. Rituals shape identity. This is not a one-time thing. This is daily mental weightlifting. This is how you strengthen the muscle of belief. The more you repeat these phrases with energy, the more you'll start to notice subtle shifts. You'll walk differently, speak differently, think more clearly. You'll take action more boldly because you're no longer hoping to become confident. You are confident. You've rehearsed it so many times, your brain starts to default to it. Emotion and repetition. That's your key to unlocking permanent change. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be consistent. You don't need to believe 100% at first, but you need to say it like you do. You need to show up like you mean it, because that intensity will start to convince your subconscious mind that this new identity is not only possible, it's already happening. And once your mind believes it, your life begins to follow, all because you didn't just say the right words. You lived them. You breathed them. You burn them into your system. That's how real transformation begins, with the way you speak to yourself and the energy you bring to every single word. Language is a trigger. It's the spark that ignites your emotional state, the fuel that drives your focus, the invisible hand that steers the direction of your day. Most people never stop to think about it, but the words they use, the ones they repeat silently, and the ones they speak out loud, are programming their brain to either see possibility or problems, solutions or setbacks, opportunity or overwhelm. That's the power of language. It's not just sound. It's a tool of influence, a lever for your emotions, a filter for your reality. The right words, spoken in the right way, at the right time, can pull you out of a slump, energize your body, focus your mind, and reignite your sense of purpose. And the wrong words, spoken casually, unconsciously, can drain you, distract you, and derail your momentum without you even realizing it. When you say something like, this is going to be a long day, your brain immediately starts to filter the world through that statement. It looks for evidence to confirm it. Your energy drops. Your attention narrows. You notice every inconvenience, every slow moment, every frustration. You feel heavier, not because the day changed, but because your language changed your perception. On the flip side, when you wake up and say, I'm excited for today, or something great is going to happen, you give your brain a different set of instructions. Now it's scanning for possibility. It's searching for moments of joy, breakthroughs, and opportunities. You feel lighter, more engaged, more alive. Again, nothing outside of you changed, but your language changed your experience. Language is how we direct our internal GPS. It's the command system for your brain. And when you wake up and start your day with intentional, empowering phrases that evoke strength, clarity, gratitude, courage, purpose, you activate a part of your brain that looks for things that align with those states. You become more solution-oriented, more resilient, more focused, more magnetic. You see things other people miss. You take action when others hesitate because your language isn't leading you into fear or fatigue. It's pulling you into your power. This is why these 11 phrases matter. Each one is a trigger, a psychological switch. They're not just nice things to say. They're tools to rewire your focus. Some phrases ignite gratitude, which immediately shifts your chemistry. Gratitude lowers stress hormones, boosts your immune system, opens up your mind to creative ideas. Some phrases awaken your drive, reminding you that you are built for more, that you are capable, that you are not a product of your past, but a creator of your future. Some phrases install calm and presence, anchoring you in this moment so you don't get swept away by anxiety or overwhelm. Each phrase serves a purpose: to steer your emotions, to guide your focus, to fuel your decisions. And here's the truth. Your life is a reflection of where your focus goes. If you focus on what's missing, what's wrong, what's broken, you'll feel depleted, frustrated, paralyzed. But if you focus on what's possible, what's within your control, what's exciting, you start to move differently. You speak differently. You show up with more energy. You begin to create momentum, not because life suddenly got easier, but because you're directing your energy differently through your language. That's the game. That's the shift. Most people let their focus be determined by external circumstances. They wait to see how the day unfolds. They wait to hear bad news before they feel bad, or good news before they allow themselves to feel good. But winners, those who lead, those who perform at a high level, they don't wait. They create. They set the tone from the start. They speak with intention, to command their mind, to shift their focus, to choose their emotional state before the world tries to choose it for them. So when you wake up, you don't just speak these phrases casually. You speak them like a commander giving orders to your army, because that's what your language is doing, giving orders to your brain, your body, your emotions. You're telling yourself what to focus on, and your mind, like a loyal soldier, follows that command. And over time, those commands become default. You begin to habitually focus on what drives you. You begin to naturally ignore distractions. You become someone who wakes up already tuned into strength, already connected to your purpose, already radiating energy that others can feel. This is why it's so powerful to repeat the same empowering language every day, because repetition builds instinct. You want these phrases to be automatic, to become part of your internal vocabulary. So when adversity shows up, your first thought isn't fear, it's I can handle this. When doubt creeps in, your automatic response isn't hesitation, it's I've got this. That's the power of language as a trigger. It doesn't just motivate you in the moment. It trains you to become someone new, someone who operates from belief, from strength. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your standards. And the fastest way to raise your standards is to raise your language. Speak like the person you want to become. Focus like the person who doesn't back down. Prime your mind for power every single day with words that move you forward, fuel your spirit, and train your focus. That's how change begins, not by hoping for better days, but by speaking your way into a better state and letting that state drive better decisions, which ultimately creates a better life. Prime yourself before the world conditions you. That's the single most important habit you can build if you want to take control of your life. Because the world is loud, chaotic, and relentless. It's full of distractions, fear, judgment, and negativity. And if you don't train your mind first thing in the morning, the world will train it for you. You'll start the day already behind. You'll be reacting instead of creating. You'll be absorbing stress instead of radiating strength. That's the difference between a life of purpose and a life of pressure. One is built by design, the other by default. Most people don't realize this, but the moment you open your eyes in the morning, your brain is at its most programmable. Your subconscious is wide open. Your thoughts, your emotions, your focus, they're all being set like wet cement. And what you do in those first few minutes becomes the foundation for everything that follows. If you roll out of bed and immediately check your phone, scroll through messages, compare yourself to others, absorb the news, or dive into problems, you're giving your power away before the day even begins. You're allowing the outside world to tell your brain what matters, to tell your nervous system how to feel, to set your emotional tone without your permission. And once that pattern is set, it's hard to break. But what if, instead, you woke up and you were the one who set the tone? What if you decided deliberately what emotions to generate, what beliefs to reinforce, what energy to create in your body before the world even touched you. That's what priming is. It's not a ritual of luxury. It's a ritual of necessity. It's about taking control of your psychology before anything external gets a chance to dictate your mood or your direction. When you speak powerful phrases first thing in the morning, you're installing certainty before doubt shows up. You're conditioning gratitude before anxiety can find a foothold. You're putting focus in place before distraction ever has a chance to knock on the door. The difference is massive. You don't just feel better, you operate better. Your brain becomes sharper, your emotions more stable, your body more energized. You handle problems faster, you make better decisions. You walk into meetings, conversations, challenges with a foundation of internal strength that can't be shaken by external chaos. You stop reacting to the world and start influencing it. You stop being the effect and become the cause. And all of that starts in the first 5 minutes of your morning. These 11 phrases are designed to be your personal activation switch. Each one primes a specific emotional and mental state that sets you up for success. Some ignite confidence, some unlock joy, some build discipline, and others anchor peace. Together, they create a holistic shift in your mindset, a psychological preparation that no outside condition can touch. The more consistently you use them, the stronger the habit becomes. Soon, it's not something you have to remember to do. It's just who you are. A person who commands their energy, a person who decides how their day is going to feel, a person who shows up grounded, powerful, and intentional, no matter what's going on around them. This isn't about pretending life is perfect. It's about building the emotional stamina and mental clarity to handle life on your terms. Because stress is going to come, distractions are going to show up, people are going to test you, disappoint you, push your buttons. That's a given. But if you've primed yourself in the morning, if you've locked in your focus, your values, your identity, none of that can shake you. You meet adversity with strength, not panic. You meet noise with stillness. You meet pressure with purpose. That's the power of priming. It's like training for a fight. You don't wait until you're in the ring to decide if you're ready. You prepare long before. You condition your body, your mind, your spirit, so that when the moment comes, you're not hoping you can handle it. You know you can. And the way you train your mindset is through rituals, repeated, emotional, intentional habits that shape how you think, feel, and act, especially when it matters most. If you want to change your life, don't just change your goals. Change your mornings. Start there. Start with how you speak to yourself. Start with how you move your body. Start with what emotions you create, what beliefs you reinforce, what energy you generate before anything or anyone else has a chance to influence you. Own the beginning of your day, and you'll own the rest of it. Because once you build the habit of priming, you're no longer living in reaction. You're living in creation. And that's where the shift happens. Most people let life happen to them. They go through the motions, constantly putting out fires, constantly responding to stress, constantly waiting for the weekend, the vacation, the moment they can finally breathe. You attract what you speak consistently. It's one of the most overlooked truths in personal transformation. People focus on what they want. They want more success, more love, more freedom, more confidence. But they don't realize they're constantly speaking words that repel those very things. They say, I never get a break, or I'm not good enough, or this always happens to me. And then they wonder why their life looks the same year after year. What you consistently speak becomes your emotional home. Your language trains your focus, your emotions, your beliefs, and ultimately the results you create. You can't talk limitation all day and expect to live a life of expansion. You can't speak from fear and expect to attract confidence. You can't keep telling stories of lack and expect to manifest abundance. Life doesn't respond to what you want. It responds to who you consistently are. And your language is one of the strongest signals of your identity. Every word you speak is either building your future or reinforcing your past. And most people are stuck in patterns of speaking from their history, not their destiny. They define themselves by old wounds, old failures, old beliefs, and then unknowingly speak those limitations over and over until they become hardwired by just how I am. I've never been good with money. I'm terrible with relationships. These phrases sound harmless, but they're powerful. Every time you say something about yourself, especially with emotion and repetition, you're giving your subconscious a directive. You're reinforcing who you believe you are. And your identity drives every decision, every action, every outcome. So if you want to change your life, you must first change your language. You must become intentional with the words you speak, not occasionally, but consistently. This is why the 11 phrases you say every morning aren't just positive statements. They are identity reinforcements. They are designed to overwrite old stories and install new patterns. They shift you from the language of limitation to the language of leadership, from the language of excuses to the language of empowerment. And when you speak them daily with emotion, you begin to attract experiences that match the identity you're declaring, not because of luck or magic, but because of alignment. Your thoughts, emotions, language, and actions begin to line up. You become congruent. You stop sabotaging your progress because you're no longer torn between wanting something and unconsciously speaking against it. When you consistently speak strength, you begin to embody. When you speak clarity, you begin to think with more precision. When you speak abundance, you start noticing opportunities. Your reticular activating system, the filter in your brain, tunes in to the things that support what you're saying. You literally start seeing more of what you speak. And that's not some mystical concept. That's neuroscience. Your brain is constantly filtering out billions of bits of information, and it only brings to your attention what you've trained it to look for. And the way you train it is through your consistent focus, and your language directs that focus every single day. So think about what you're speaking on a regular basis. Are you reinforcing your future or reliving your past? Are you telling stories of what's possible or repeating stories of what's not working? The words you say when no one's around, those quiet moments when you talk to yourself, they matter because that's where your true beliefs live. That's where identity is shaped. And the only way to shift those beliefs is to interrupt the old language pattern and replace it with one that serves the person you are becoming. That's what these 11 phrases are for. They are your daily identity anchors. Each one speaks to the future version of you. Each one is a statement of who you choose to be, not who you've been. And the more you speak from that place, the more you start to show up like that person, not just mentally, but physically, emotionally, and energetically. You begin to carry yourself differently. People start to respond to you differently. Opportunities start coming your way, not because they weren't there before, but because you're finally aligned with them. Your energy has changed. Your language has changed, and what you attract begins to shift. You've got to understand that life is responding to your dominant vibration, and your language plays a huge role in creating that vibration. If your dominant energy is frustration, doubt, scarcity, you'll keep drawing situations that match that. But if your dominant language is power, faith, gratitude, and determination, you will begin to attract relationships, ideas, and circumstances that elevate you. You start living in the frequency of your desired future, and that frequency attracts more of the same. So make a decision today. Become fiercely intentional with your language. Speak the life you want, not the life you fear. Speak from the identity you're creating, not the identity you're escaping. Use the 11 phrases not as empty affirmations, but as declarations of truth. Repeat them until they feel natural. Say them until you believe them. Speak them until they become who you are. Because when your language aligns with your highest self, your reality starts to align too. Not gradually, exponentially. Because you're no longer attracting what you used to tolerate. You're attracting what you now expect. And expectations shape destiny. Speak yours into existence every single morning. Success starts with a morning ritual. That's not just a motivational idea, it's a foundational truth. Every day, you are either building momentum or losing it, either preparing yourself or drifting aimlessly, either stepping into your identity or sliding back into old habits. And it all starts the moment you open your eyes. How you begin your day is how you shape your future. The most successful people in the world in business and health and leadership and personal fulfillment don't leave their mornings to chance. They don't roll out of bed and hope to feel motivated. They create motivation. They generate energy. They build emotional resilience before the day demands it. and they do it through a ritual. Your morning is the first battle of the day. And when you win it, everything else becomes easier. But if you lose it, if you start reactive, distracted, or disconnected, then you're constantly playing catch up. You're being pulled by the chaos of the world instead of being powered by your own intention. That's why these 11 phrases are not just a motivational tool. They are the architecture of a high-performance ritual. They give you structure, direction, and power before life even throws its first punch. Rituals aren't about perfection. They're about identity. They're about anchoring the version of yourself you are committed to becoming. When you start your morning by saying, I am focused, I am unstoppable, I am grateful, I am built for success, you are installing the operating system for your day. You're priming your nervous system to respond with strength, clarity, and confidence. No matter what shows up, you're not waiting for circumstances to dictate how you feel. You're deciding how you want to feel and then creating it. That's what leaders do. That's what high performers do. They don't react, they create. It doesn't matter what your goals are, whether you want to build a business, heal your body, strengthen your relationships, grow your wealth, or just feel more peace and power inside. The key to making it happen is consistency. And the fastest way to build consistency is to tie it to a ritual, something you do every single day without negotiation. And it doesn't need to be complicated. It just needs to be intentional. These phrases give you a tool to use immediately. You wake up, you speak them with energy, you breathe into them, you move your body, you declare your identity out loud. You don't wait to feel good to say them, you say them to feel good. You don't wait to believe them fully. You say them until belief becomes automatic. Because repetition is the mother of skill. Repetition is what reprograms the brain. The more you say something, the more your subconscious begins to accept it as truth. And when you add emotion and movement, when you say it with your full body and soul, the wiring happens faster. It becomes part of your nervous system. You're not just saying words, you're forging a new identity. That's the real value of a ritual. It's not about checking a box. It's about transformation. It's about the person you become by doing it every single day, especially when you don't feel like it. And here's what happens when you build a powerful morning ritual. You begin to develop emotional momentum. You don't just survive your day. You attack it. You don't just try to stay positive. You radiate power. You don't just go through your tasks, you dominate them because you started your day in alignment. You started it with purpose. You started it by stepping into your best self, not hoping it shows up later. That emotional momentum carries over into every decision you make, every conversation you have, every challenge you face. And that's what separates those who dream from those who do. The people who live with passion, with purpose, with impact, they are not lucky. They are intentional. They train their thoughts, their emotions, their actions. They prepare for the life they want instead of reacting to the life they don't. And it starts the same way every single morning with the small but powerful decision to own the first minutes of the day, to not be casual, to not be reactive, to not let the world decide how they feel, because they understand that rituals build resilience. Rituals build consistency. Rituals build identity. And when your ritual includes speaking empowering language, not once, but every single day, your life begins to shift. You build an inner certainty that can't be shaken. You start taking bigger risks, pushing through fear, standing up taller, speaking with more clarity, moving with more confidence. Not because the world suddenly became easier, but because you became stronger. That's what this is really about. Building yourself from the inside out, training your emotional muscles so you're prepared for anything, creating a personal foundation so strong that no amount of noise, fear, or distraction can pull you off track. So ask yourself, are you designing your mornings or are you drifting through them? Are you building a future or reliving your past? Are you speaking life into your goals or are you letting old patterns shape your identity? The ritual is simple. The decision is yours. Speak the phrases, move your body, breathe with intention, do it every morning, not as a task, but as a gift to your future self. Because success doesn't come from what you do once in a while. It comes from what you do daily. And it all begins with how you start your day. That's where transformation lives. That's where greatness begins. In the first few minutes. in your ritual, in your words, in you.